Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to this wonderful and amazing event that we have today. And I feel so happy and thank you. Welcome to this amazing and wonderful event that we have today. And I feel so honored and happy to introduce our guests. And I believe we're going to have an amazing time today. Our guest speaker for today is Cleve Mesidor, and she is, okay, let me read her introduction. Cleve Mesidor leads the National Policy Network of Women of Color in Blockchain and is an advisor to Blockchain Association. Recently, One United Bank, America's largest Black-owned bank, recognized Cleve as a member of Black Crypto League. Major Muriel Bowser has appointed her to the DC Innovation and Technology Inclusion Council. A Washington insider, Cleve previously served as an Obama presidential appointee, a senior staffer in Congress and in the leadership of national political campaign. She hosts the annual congregational briefing of women of color in blockchain and in the nation's capital. Cleve is an Howard University alumna and author of the book, The Clevolution, My Guest for Justice in Politics and Crypto. So ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome our guest speaker for today. Please join me in welcome Cleve Mesidor. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Oyedun. I appreciate the introduction. Good afternoon. I was going to say good morning, but it's already there. I appreciate Judith and the Blockchain and FinTech Society for inviting me. I want to commend Morgan's Center for the Study of Blockchain and Financial Technology for being a leading institution in the blockchain space. This is huge for an HBCU as we are in the infancy of this new technology. I actually first connected with Morgan's Blockchain Society in February 2020. It was during Black History Month, right before COVID hit. And we did an event on Capitol Hill with the Blockchain Association and Coinbase. And we had about, 10 people from Morgan's FinTech Club there. So it's great to be here to talk to you about all things blockchain. I tell people all the time that crypto people are very similar to Jehovah's Witnesses. We are known for saying, hello, have you heard the good news about Bitcoin? So we tend to be very passionate about crypto. It's great to be at an HBCU and to talk to fellow HBCU folks about crypto, which I love. I'm a Howard alum, as you heard in the introduction. I went to Howard University and graduated with a master's degree there. Now, I know we have a virtual audience, and so because of COVID, we were virtual for so long, but it's great to actually be hybrid now. Now, before I get started, I have to do the shameless plug. I published a book called The Clevolution, which is a play on my name, and it refers to revolution and evolution. And it's called The Clevolution, My Quest for Justice in Blockchain and Cryptocurrency. And so I've been able to marry my background in politics and social justice with crypto. The book is available at Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Amazon, and other retailers. It has been great to work at this intersection of blockchain and public policy. As you heard, I have deep roots in Washington, D.C. I lead the National Policy Network of Women of Color in Blockchain. As you heard, I'm an advisor to the Blockchain Association. And I live in DC in Ward 7. I serve on DC Mayor Bowser's Innovation and Technology Council. Sorry, Innovation and Technology Inclusion Council. I previously served in the Obama administration as the presidential appointee. And I also served as a senior staffer in Congress and also worked on national campaigns. I share this because what I've been searching for in public policy in terms of this revolution, this economic revolution, this march towards justice, I truly found in crypto. And I'm hoping that you're engaging today because you're interested in this space. Before I dive in, I don't want to take for granted that everybody understands what blockchain is. So many people are curious, but most are confused. And quite frankly, you should be confused. There's a steep learning curve. It took me 2 years to learn about blockchain and cryptocurrency. I first heard about Bitcoin when I was in the Obama administration in 2013. A friend had a Bitcoin project and asked me to help him with a press release. So in 2013, I had to learn about Bitcoin. And in 2013, the price of Bitcoin fluctuated, I think, between $11 and $200. Actually, I think it went to maybe, flirting with $1,000. Bitcoin didn't excite me, but it put the cryptocurrency space in my radar, and I did not get involved until about 2016, 2017, when the conversation opened up beyond just the currency, right, to the possibilities of the technology. So here's a basic definition. I tell people all the time that blockchain is technology that securely verifies information, facilitates the exchange of value without third parties. Again, blockchain is simply technology that securely verifies information. That's the ledger you hear about. Facilitates the exchange of value. That's cryptocurrency. Without third parties, that's decentralization. People are enamored with cryptocurrencies. Everybody loves Bitcoin. But I try to explain it like this, right? Think of the light. Right now, we're illuminated by light, right? It's beautiful and bright. What powers the light? It's electricity, right? So think of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin like the light, right? And blockchain is the electricity that powers it. More importantly, think of what else we do with electricity other than light. Same thing. Think of all of the possibilities for blockchain other than the currency. Right? There are so many things we use electricity for that people are not even aware of. That is the promise and the potential of blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. So today I'm very excited about this topic. Right? Why is the Black community leading mainstream crypto adoption? I actually discussed this during a recent NPR News interview and Time magazine article that just came out. Recent data shows that Black, Latinx, Asian individuals are leading the nation in adoption and are looking to crypto as an alternative to the traditional financial system. And here's the stat. While only 11% of white Americans report owning cryptocurrencies, 23% of Black Americans and 17% of Hispanic Americans own such assets. Adults and awareness in crypto is also much higher. among people of color. So just awareness. So we just talked about people owning cryptocurrencies, where we saw that, for the white population, the US is 11%, 23%, we exceed the nation. But even among awareness of crypto, half of Black Americans, half of Asian Americans, and 49% of Hispanic Americans say they are familiar with it, versus only 37% of white Americans. What that tells us is Black, Latinx, Asian, LGBTQ innovators, entrepreneurs, startup founders are driving mainstream adoption in the blockchain and cryptocurrency space. Why is that? Well, like a lot of things in crypto, the space is very new, barely 10 years old. We don't have concrete data yet, but I'm going to share you my thoughts as to why that is. Why is Black, Latinx, LGBTQ communities driving adoption? I think of it as, what is your relationship with money? And for me, this whole thing about what is your relationship with money is spurring the adoption that we see globally. Globally, we've seen adoption in Brazil, in India, on the continent of Africa, in Latin America, in the Caribbean. And what's unique about a lot of these places is high inflation, right? It's a financial system that's pretty nascent, right? It's not structured. It's nations that actually have large populations that are unbanked or underbanked. So for these communities, right, when presented with an opportunity to have a currency that is not connected with the government, that doesn't require ID and all of this red tape, you're going to jump at it. And we've seen that. Venezuela is a great example of where, when, at the height of inflation with President Maduro, cryptocurrency was the currency that the community went through. And not only did the community in Venezuela galvanize around crypto, the industry did, right? But first it started with local community leaders. And think of Venezuela like any other Caribbean or Latin American nation, right? Place where lots of rural communities, lots of communities where, they are, mostly on foot, very few cars. So it took local leaders, local innovators to say, I want to teach people about crypto, right? So they went around in caravans, on the radio, the ways you touch our communities, and they started telling people about crypto, right? They started helping people to open wallets. These were street vendors, mom and pops, people who just had no other way of income, right? So now they were so successful at educating people, because when they went to people in Venezuela, I'm assuming similar to Latin America, other places, no one says, explain to me what it is before I use it, right? In the US, people always is like, oh, what is it? So first they educated their population. Then they equipped them with wallets. And then the industry, you had companies like Dash come in and say, hey, you learn about our protocol. So now you had, different cryptocurrency companies going in there and saying, fertile ground, right? Let's make sure, merchants and street vendors have wallets. Let's make sure people who are shopping for services have wallets. Then you even saw JetBlue said, we'll accept cryptocurrency from Venezuela. So now people who never could actually buy a plane ticket, because they own a wallet, can now buy a plane ticket. JetBlue said, you're good. So does Church's Fried Chicken. Anomaly, I don't know why, but they were one of the national chains that actually went into Puerto Rico. I tell people all the time that one of my favorite words in crypto is self-sovereign identity. What is self-sovereign identity? So for me, it is, when you think of, in the US, people in Mississippi and Alabama, but also people across the world who have no birth certificate, who have no ID. So if you have no birth certificate, right, and you don't have a driver's license, a bank is not gonna give you a bank account, right? But you can't even go to school. Definitely, can't access government services. So self-sovereign identity is one of the aspects of blockchain that says, if people don't have these things that the traditional world requires, how do we actually validate who they are? And when you think about what is a social security card, it's just a number assigned to you, right? So self-sovereign identity, I'm Haitian American, if you're wondering where the accent's from, says that you can go in a community and say, we'll use your fingerprint as your ID. We'll use your picture as your ID. In some cases, if you're in a rural tribal community, we will say, if 5 people verify who you are, then you are this person, right? So that is one of the beauties of blockchain, is we can actually make sure that the 1.7 billion people across the world who have never had access to the traditional financial markets can actually now participate, can do that autonomously. They don't have to have a central figure that actually tells them, allows them to do this. Now, the case of Venezuela is a great example. So going back to the question is, why in the US, why are Black Latinx communities driving adoption? Because we did the same thing. In 2008, a group of people, I believe, named Satoshi Nakamoto, put out a white paper, created a white paper. If you haven't seen the white paper, go to bitcoin.com, can read the white paper. And the white paper essentially said, let's create a cashless payment system and let's build it on cryptography. And again, we don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, or a group of people. Again, if you read the white paper, you can see it's a group of people. They sent the white paper to a listserv of cryptographers and said, can we build this? And they did. In 2009, we actually mined the first Bitcoin. So this was a global venture. This was a diverse venture. A group of cryptographers with math geeks all over the world is a diverse group. It's not a primarily white male group, because that's the space we see today. The hidden figures in crypto were the people who are like the people in Venezuela, who said, I'm going to use this for financial freedom. I'm going to tell my neighbors and make sure they tell their neighbors. And I consider myself part of this. There are some players you should know. There's Isaiah Jackson. He wrote Bitcoin in Black America. Deirdre McIntyre has a Facebook group called Black People in Cryptocurrency. These bootstrap efforts galvanize Black and Latinx people into crypto. We did it without millions for education. Over the last 10 years, meetups for Black and brown people. There's Blockchain Latinx is a meetup and an organization that exists. There's even groups of people who look at leveraging crypto for Native American communities. So over the last almost 10 years, we had spent time educating our neighbors, going to our communities. For me, as I told you, I first learned about blockchain in 2013, but in 2018, it took me 2 years to learn it, high learning curve. I decided to create a newsletter. 2018, January 2018, I did a newsletter every week, every Monday. It's now 2021. I still do it every week, every Monday. So my Sundays are solely creating this newsletter. And it's a recap of the week before. I swear to you, every Sunday, I'm up until 1 o'clock in the morning saying, I'd never want to do this again. But I have to, not because of the 4,000 plus people who subscribe, because it's my way of staying up to date on what's going on. There's so much going on that it's hard to keep up. So for me on the weekends, on Sundays, where I have to put together the newsletter, look at the articles I'm going to include, and I include diverse stories about NFTs, what's happening in Black and Latinx communities, but also what's happening in Washington. I do this because it helps me stay up to speed and also share with people as well. I've been doing this since 2018. I had to tell you, most of the people I engage with is like, well, Cleve, I read your newsletter, but I'm not sure. Right? Okay, Cleve, help me open a wallet, but I'm not gonna buy something, right? And then we get momentum when the price goes up. It has been that old traditional way of each one teach one. Tell your neighbor, tell your friend. And today, that is why Black and Latinx crypto adoption is leading the nation. Because for us, the traditional financial system abandoned us, even though we live in the greatest economy in the world, right? I shared that 1.7 billion people across the world are underbanked, unbanked, or never or have limited access to the financial system. In the US, it's 55 million people. What we've seen is the global crypto industry has focused on financial inclusion globally. Like the case of Venezuela is a great example, right? Most of these countries where there's high inflation, where there's not a really robust and structured financial system, are large populations of Black and brown people across the world, right? So if you do an investment in Venezuela, you're capturing a large population, and it's beneficial. I have to tell you, there's financial inclusion in the US, which is why I can confidently tell you that it was the Black and Latinx innovators in this space since 2010 saw this as a way of financial freedom, is because financial inclusion is so critical to us. We knew that we had to educate folks. We had to make sure that we're, touching folks. But we also had to make sure we're educating folks. So financial inclusion in the US is not profitable, right? If you're a big company, 55 million people is a drop in the bucket. And most of these 55 million people already have access. And let's face it, right? Let's talk about Black folk. We are risk averse. We are visionary. We are innovative, but we don't like taking risks. I remember being in Haiti in 2013. When I left the Obama administration, I went to spend 7 months in Haiti. And I remember thinking, we are so entrepreneurial. Even in Haiti, like everybody has a hustle. Like they have somebody selling mangoes, somebody's doing this. We always, wherever we are in the world, the African diaspora, we always have a hustle. But what I saw was this woman selling mango, the person next to her selling mango, the person next to her selling mango, right? We don't deviate. I remember asking somebody, well, why don't you sell avocado from another region, because that would give you sort of like a seasonal thing, right? Because if you're in Port-au-Prince, we're all selling the 3 same fruits. Well, that's a level of risk, right? Because now I'm selling mangoes, they're selling mangoes, but we're all selling mangoes. What would be the risk to now injecting another fruit that you don't know if there's a demand for? So, example to show that as Black and brown people, we're conservative, we're pragmatic. We have to be, because our disposable income is not ours, it's intergenerational. We're providing the money we make, we're sharing with our parents, our siblings, relatives. I'm Haitian American, but all of the diaspora communities, Latinx communities in the US, you've heard of remittances, we're all sending money back home. And we're getting charged high fees. So the opportunity here is actually real. I know I'm jumping around a little bit. I'm deviating a bit from my space, but I want to but I felt it was really important to actually just talk about this thing about, the unbanked, put it in context for the US and why it's important to actually do this engagement and why it's important for us to take risk, because there is such a thing as pragmatic risk. We do not sell your house and buy crypto, please don't. But for our virtual audience and for you right here, you can buy $10 of Bitcoin today because you're gonna spend that at Starbucks anyways, right? And most of you in college, you're all spending somebody else's money. I have a niece, I swear to you, I bankrolled that girl. When I was growing up, she did not, if I needed something, my parents would get a job. She calls me and says, Auntie, I need sneakers. So we go to the store, buy $200 sneakers. I never had $200 anything. So don't take huge risks. Deep your feed in. Start with Bitcoin. I tell people, if you're Black or Latinx, the only thing that should be in your portfolio is Bitcoin to begin with. Once you're comfortable, then add Ethereum, then take more risk. But we need to actually take more risk. Why? Otherwise, we become late adopters. And what do late adopters become? Consumers, not producers. So for our community, this has always been the case, right? We're late adopters to technology. Look at the internet, right? It was supposed to decentralize us. By the time, I remember, how the internet evolved in terms of global, and then people in their 50s. And we were so slow to get into this space. By the time we did, we've just become consumers for major companies. And today we work the hell out of social media, right? We use these platforms for activism, for e-commerce, but we're still consumers. So crypto is in its infancy. No one is late to this game. No one has a degree in crypto. No one can claim they created it. So we need to take more risk. We need to get in because it's an opportunity for financial freedom, but it's also an opportunity for us to be producers, not consumers. When you look at the changing demographics, the nation is, the world, but the US is becoming younger and browner. So that means if you're a Zoomer and you're in college or high school, this is your marketplace. You dominate this marketplace. You can either go into crypto and buy other people's products. Lots of them are creating them for you. Or if you come into crypto, use it to leverage your network. Those of you joining us virtually or in here, oh please, I would hate to see how many Instagram followers you have, or how many Twitter followers you have, or how many people are on your YouTube page. So that is currency. I was struck by the story about the 6-year-old millionaire a few years ago. This little boy who's like 3 years old, no, I think 2. He actually gets paid to open gifts for people. People watch his YouTube page for him to open, just unwrap gifts. It became such a big thing. Now big companies sent him products so they could open, right? So, and he is a millionaire for opening gifts because people like to watch people doing stuff. When you look at Twitch in terms of gaming, I remember when it first came out, people just want to watch people play games. Yes. So in the case of this, the 6-year-old who just, people want to watch kids open their gifts, and maybe it's an opportunity, somebody sees something happy. So whatever it is, that little boy is leveraging his network. All of you, are you capitalizing on your network? Are you commercializing your network? Many of you may have e-commerce businesses, right? Great. Have you created a merchant account so you can accept cryptocurrency? Because I can tell you, there's a whole population of folks here who own cryptocurrency, who will buy something just from people who accept cryptocurrency just to foster adoption. There was a story about a woman who was selling a home and it was on the market for months, she couldn't sell it. She started advertising that she would accept Ethereum for it. It sold within hours of posting that. Not because her home is so great, because there's a whole marketplace out there of consumers who own crypto, who want to transact and who want to transact with people who accept cryptocurrency. So if you're an e-commerce business, you can just set up a merchant account. Just accepting crypto, you're not doing anything, you're not changing your life. Same thing with a nonprofit. And for those of you who actually want to buy crypto, this is not investment advice. This is not investment advice. This is not investment advice. There are many ways to do it. The most basic way, and it is basic because it has its limitations, is via Cash App, PayPal, Robinhood. Most people own one of those three apps or all of those three apps. All of those three apps will not require for you to do anything additional. You can go in those apps right now and buy $10 of Bitcoin, right? And most of you probably know, but I like to say crypto is like layaway. You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can buy $10. You can keep adding $10 each week, each month. And PayPal, Cash App will allow you to do that. So those on-ramps, again, PayPal, Cash App, and Robinhood, they have limitations. They have limitations for when you actually want to sell or move your crypto. So for new people, that's great because you're probably not gonna sell, right? You're probably gonna hold it. But once you actually get comfortable with space and you wanna go deeper, there are decentralized exchanges and you've heard of them. There's Gemini, Binance US, Kraken, a whole host of them. That was not an endorsement, just listing them. And so you can go deeper and then go purchase crypto on a decentralized exchange. And if you want to go even deeper, you can actually go to entities like BlackFi that actually pays you interest on your crypto in Bitcoin. So imagine earning interest in Bitcoin. So there's tons of ways to get engaged. There's tons of ways to start now. Most people will never, ever, ever own a Bitcoin. Scarcity. Only 21 million is the most Bitcoins that will ever be mined. And depending on who you speak to, we could be out by 2040. So most people will never own a full Bitcoin. Most people will never own half a Bitcoin. So the people we wanted to make sure at least own some Bitcoin or some cryptocurrencies were Black and Latinx people. And we are on our way because 23% of the nation is doing that. And that's a great thing, not because we want to pump crypto, not because crypto is so great, because our communities need alternatives to financial freedom. Now, cryptocurrency, as I mentioned, is just one of the things that the electricity that is blockchain produces, right? You've heard of NFTs, right? There's a whole DeFi space. So for people who want to go a little deeper beyond cryptocurrencies, I suggest whatever is your favorite cryptocurrency, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Morena, whatever it is, look at what is the developer community building. I use Ethereum as a great example. Bitcoin is a great store of value. So when you look at the way that it's being used to revolutionize financial instruments, is great. But also Ethereum was a blockchain that was created. We know who created Ethereum because we know Vitalik Buterin exists. So that's why Bitcoiners think that they're the only ones who are true cryptocurrencies. But Ethereum, their developer community have a mandate. Ethereum, they're focused on peer-to-peer, small contracts, Ethereum is what gave us NFTs. Go back to crypto kitties like 5 years ago. Ethereum is being leveraged for gaming, again, peer-to-peer. Yeah. So when you look at the developer community, it is looking to grow the marketplace, right? So if you're looking for crypto as the on-ramp, where you can build is there. And you know, the one thing that people hear about NFTs very similar to Bitcoin and wonder, oh my God, how do I get it, right? How do I create an NFT? There are many NFT marketplaces for any creator, whether you're an artist, you know, musician, you know, writer. There are many platforms, but here too, again, not an endorsement. OpenSea is one. Nifty Gateway is another. Again, easy ones where whether you're looking to purchase your NFT or sell your NFT, those are two sites to begin with, OpenSea and Nifty Gateway. Again, an NFT is simply a way, when you think back to, you know, collectibles, right? And all of a sudden your stuff becomes a collectible, right? It is, you know, that one picture, that drawing you made that was so great, everybody told you it was revolutionary, but you haven't been able to sell it, right? But you know something special about it. NFTs is a way to finally create, you know, digitize that based on cryptography, and then sell it to your network, people who already love it, right? So how great is it that creators now have this way of monetizing their art in a way that has never been done? In the last few years, creators have made more money than they've ever been able to make in the industry. And again, people say, you know, crypto is great, blockchain is great, cryptocurrency is great. It is people, it is your hunger, right? It is your drive and determination, where now you have access to a technology where the barriers of access have been diminished, where you don't need a degree to access it, you don't need permission to access it. You right now, heck, you can actually create your own coin, whoever you are, and based on your network, test it. See how many people in your network would buy, yeah, my name is Cleve. How many people in my network would buy the Cleve coin, right? Let's say I created a Cleve coin. Let's say 10% of my network just bought the Cleve coin because they love Cleve. That is me monetizing my space. Now, that may seem trivial to some people, but it's just a way of thinking through how we can actually leverage this sharing economy that young people created, this innovation economy that's being fueled by the fusion of technologies. Now, I want to close because I want to, you know, make time for Q&A and also answer your questions. But I want to close by sharing a few resources. I joked earlier that crypto is like football. It's not even any given Sunday. Any day of the week, there's a football game somewhere. Someone is playing football. Same thing with crypto. So right now, there's a DC FinTech summit happening. It's led by Chris Brummer at Georgetown Law. Every year, the industry comes. Today it's hybrid, but before COVID and even post-COVID, this is where the industry converges to talk about what Morgan State is doing, is looking at that intersection of fintech, that evolution of fintech into cryptocurrency. So mark your calendars every October, especially if you're in DC FinTech Summit. Every September, Blockchain Summit. It's been going on for the last 4 years. I just attended this past one is at Howard University, but we welcome the Morgan students too. And the Black Blockchain Summit has been so special for us, for Black innovators in crypto. As I shared, it's global, but it's one of those places where globally we converge. I can tell you confidently, I know a lot of the Black folks in crypto across the country and across the world because of that conference, right? Because we connect, because it's an opportunity for us to convene and learn for a few days. And the Time magazine just did a big story based on that conference. Now, there is another group called the Black Bitcoin Billionaires. They've created a network. So the Black Bitcoin Billionaires is this whole concept of how do we get more people in crypto? Let's face it, using Black Bitcoin Billionaires will draw people, but their goal is to get as much Bitcoin in people's hands as possible. So they focus on Bitcoin, they focus on getting it in the hands of people. They've actually partnered with Jack Dorsey at Square. They got a $5 million grant to do just that. Go on communities and get crypto into the hands of Black and brown people. Hill Harper, the actor, collaborated with Naja Roberts, and they created the Black Wall Street app. I'm sure many of you have learned about Black Wall Street. So this app is actually an app targeting Black and Latinx folks. It's a digital wallet, but the impetus is it's also backed by education. So we're not just giving you a wallet and saying, hey, go buy crypto, right? Focusing on Bitcoin, which is the strongest cryptocurrency, but also focusing on providing education for folks as well. Now, one of my favorite projects in this space is GuapCoin, Guap money. So GuapCoin is led by this woman, Tavonia Evans. So Tavonia created GuapCoin, I believe, like 5 years ago. So GuapCoin is a cryptocurrency, right? You can actually create your own NFT. You can actually, create a wallet, but creating a cryptocurrency is an undertaking. So 5 years ago, the Buy Black movement, she said, great, buy Black, but we're still using the US dollar. Why not create a cryptocurrency where you're buying Black, but you're also buying a cryptocurrency that was created for Black people? And obviously it has evolved to much more than that. And today, GuapCoin, again, a cryptocurrency that was created by a Black woman that is, you can buy it, you can download the wallet, but it is one of those places where we're creating and we're innovating. Yes. And you'll hear about crypto Twitter. Yes, it is a crazy place. And for depending on how old you are, it might not be the place for you. But crypto Twitter is where most of the, a lot of the influential leaders in crypto converge and talk about the issues. Do a lot of fighting as well. And as I wrap, you can also find me on crypto Twitter. Twitter is probably the easiest way to find me. I'm at CMESI, at CMESI. I'm also on Instagram, but Twitter is probably where I have the largest footprint. So I'll stop there because I know I've been talking for a while and answer questions. I'm not sure if there have been questions in the chat, but if you're joining us virtually, please definitely insert your questions into the app. But also, if you have questions here. Oh, yes. Great question. Would you say there's a similarity between crypto and Forex? I think it depends on what you mean by similarity, but I think there are technologies or innovations where the transition makes sense in terms of this whole concept of decentralization, and I think Forex is one of them. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. 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 So this question is how do you learn to become a blockchain developer or resources to do just that? and forgive me, the previous question was about, are there similarities between crypto and Forex? So for this question, in terms of how to actually be a developer, there are actually quite a bit of resources. Yeah, so crypto is not, diversity is an issue for the developer community, period, right? So crypto is not immune for it. But for developers, what I would recommend is, if that's what you're interested in, go to GitHub. GitHub is where all developers share their code. And in crypto, that's actually one of a requirement for us, right? Is open source, public blockchain, because we want to share the code. So in GitHub, you'll actually learn the folks who are actually behind these things. I will tell you, for those of us who got into the space early, like in 2013, you can call just about anyone, the CEO of whatever, they will pick up the phone. That is still the case, where a lot of these developers that you may learn about in GitHub, if you actually, want to focus on that protocol, you can actually reach out to them. But I think at the heart of your question, there's a big difference if you're going to become a Bitcoin developer versus an Ethereum developer and versus other protocols. So most of the blockchains have ambassador programs. So for Ethereum, Consensus is a company that you can look up. They have an ambassador program, but they also have an academy where they will train people to actually become a developer. And they charge for those programs, but they look for partnerships, right? So this is one where, if Morgan's FinTech Club reached out, they would actually say, we will provide you, 5 free licenses to learn with us, because again, they want to promote the Ethereum protocol, right? Now, I would say, there's different languages in Ethereum, Solidity is one of them. So again, but Consensus has an academy, the Ethereum Foundation has programs as well. And so I'm happy to connect you. There's also a blockchain called Filecoin Foundation. So Filecoin Foundation is a new project. They're focusing on data storage, right? This is how do we maintain data or stories, those things are valuable to us. Filecoin Foundation is actually really unique. Yes, Filecoin, it's the accent. Filecoin Foundation is actually led by mostly women, which is unusual in tech, period. But also, they actually have a developer advocate. Her name is Sonia John. You can follow her on Twitter. I'm happy to connect you. So Sonia, again, a Black woman who from the continent of Africa, her role is there to be a developer advocate. So I'm happy to connect you. Obviously, she focuses on Filecoin and their protocol, but can connect you beyond that as well. Okay. There's another question here. No problem. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So the question is about the Black Wall Street app, which I shared also provides education. So, and is that geared towards, educating people, or about giving you financial advice? Yes. So financial literacy is really critical to crypto right now. Anyone who's watching virtually or here, do your research. Do your research. The learning curve is high. I won't lie to you. It's, you're not gonna learn crypto by reading one book, going to one conference, or even reading 2 books or going to 2 conferences. It's gonna take time, which is why education is so important, which is why financial literacy is so important for Black and Latinx communities, because we're the most vulnerable, right? We are looking for avenues, and we need to make sure that we're doing our research, and we also have access to education. So going to your question, yeah, so the Black Wall Street app is a wallet, right? Where you could buy Bitcoin. But they also want to provide educational information about cryptocurrency, right? In terms of learning about cold storage, right? Learning about, ways that you could transact with Bitcoin. And I'm obviously, I don't know their full educational portfolio, but they want to be responsible. So not give financial advice, no. It's really to make sure that people understand what they're getting into. Because crypto is a little bit complicated, right? It does require for you to understand how to protect your private key, because you get a public key and a private key. What does that mean? It's a different way of looking at money and finance. Yes. I would say for financial advice, I would be cautious for people that, I would say for most people, if you're thinking about crypto, thinking about buying crypto, pragmatic risk. Look at your disposable income. I was a presidential appointee for President Obama. And so when President Obama ran, one of the reasons he won was not because of the big PACs that donated millions. It wasn't because of all of the people that maxed out with their $5,000 donations. The first race was really built on those people who donated $25. There were all of these people who $25 contribution would show up at campaign offices and feel like their campaign donor. And now they want to make sure the campaign is being run correctly. So for the Obama administration, there was any volunteers were abundant. And again, not because if you in selective memory, first campaign, he was not the first black president. He was just this scrawny guy who wanted to become president. His campaign, running against Hillary Clinton, this icon. That said, those $25 investors in his campaign saw their investment just as important as the $25,000 investors. So, so for everyone, don't look at your entree point for $25, as nothing. It's significant, right? Because it is it's your skin in the game, but it's your way of getting access to education as well. That said, Guapcoin on their site, they have a foundation, they do education as well. Yeah. There are tons of resources where you can get education, but definitely, just like those people who donated $25 and felt it was their campaign, showed up at everything, said, okay, this is wrong, that investment you make in crypto, do your due diligence, learn, and only take financial advice for people you trust. Better yet, from a financial advisor.
Hi, Cleve. Cleve, we have a few questions in the chat here on Zoom.
Okay, I will take one more from here and then go to the Zoom ones.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the question is about mainstream adoption and how we get there specifically globally across the globe. Now, the one thing I will say is mainstream adoption globally has been high forever. The continent of Africa, the adoption there in India and Brazil has been, the US is behind the game, the West is behind the game. We have seen mainstream adoption skyrocket because of grassroots engagement. Again, as I said earlier, where there's high inflation, people don't trust the state, those people will open a wallet like that, will start using cryptocurrency. Now, what you are mentioning in terms of the step El Salvador took, that is where governments are getting in the game, right? So mainstream adoption, it depends on what you are talking about, right? So mainstream adoption, as I talk about it, is about getting consumers, regular people, everyday people to crypto. right? So what El Salvador, the significance of El Salvador's step is because governments have been cool to crypto. You mentioned China that has opted to ban crypto, right? So for governments, they struggle with this new currency and this adoption of it. How does it fit into our current system? Essentially, how do we tax it, right? How do we make sure you're complying with the ways that, how do you fit crypto in this cookie cutter that we regulated stocks and bonds and all of that stuff, right? And so there's friction because of that. So that's why you've seen the crypto community is excited when El Salvador makes it legal to tender, right? Because then you remove those regulatory barriers so those people in that country can use crypto without fearing that, like China, they'll be banned, right? They can build on it without knowing that the government can say your product is now illegal, or non-compliant because of X, right? So, and legal tender is not the only way, it's great. El Salvador's step is great, but also there are some issues. In El Salvador, they're requiring people to use Bitcoin, right? There are some requirements that go into it that actually challenge some of the core tenets of decentralization, right? In terms of, again, privacy, in terms of if you're requiring, then, who has access to people's stuff. But it's still a great step though, right? We want people to have financial freedom. So if you don't love Bitcoin, there's so many others to choose. But that said though, El Salvador is not the only step. Last year, the Bahamas became the first nation to have a central bank digital currency. And Bermuda, the premier of Bermuda, has been one of the early pioneers in the crypto space. And today, tons of blockchain companies have their headquarters in Bermuda. I know that we have two questions here, but we're going to go online first.
All right, so our first question is from Jaquetta Graham. How can we get our children involved and what age can they start?
That is a great question. Technically, you have to be 18 to buy cryptocurrency. I say technically because most kids, if they want crypto, they're gonna get crypto. I have had tons of my contemporaries, my friends who have kids, call me and say, "Hey," because if you're going to buy on a regulated exchange like Gemini or Binance US or Kraken, you have to have they're going to verify you because of they have to comply with KYC and AML laws. So technically you have to be 18. What's happening is parents are saying, okay, I'll give you $200. The parents are setting up their accounts for their kids. And so, but so many kids are mining crypto where you don't have to do that. So the question is, how do you get more kids more educated? There's tons of ways. Financial literacy is at the heart of that. One is the state of Georgia last year, or is it earlier this year? It's COVID. Who remembers? It all seems together now the last 2 years. But recently, just during COVID, the state of Georgia passed a law requiring all high schools to teach cryptocurrency. Sorry, go back. See it, crypto people. The state of Georgia, the state legislature in Georgia passed a law requiring all high schools to teach financial literacy, which is so important. But they said, here are the 5 aspects of financial literacy to focus on, and cryptocurrency was one of them. So here, if you're in high school in Georgia, you're going to learn financial literacy and you're going to learn about cryptocurrency. I would say we need to be intentional about that. What we're seeing even across the country today, kids in high school and even student members of school boards are demanding more education about, they're demanding more financial education and also education about investments. So, there's a group called Girls Who Code. Girls Who Code is by, I can't believe I'm blanking on her name. She's one of my sorority sisters, but Girls Who Code is a great spot for kids because they actually do projects for kids to learn young people to learn how to code. There are tons of people who actually do camps. There's a friend called Fred Brandon. He actually just published something to teach people how to teach young people. So there are tons of resources ad hoc, but I do think that we, especially because it's so imperative, not because I want, to everybody to become a crypto convert, which would be great, but because if we're going to go to a decentralized system, we need to make sure people are educated. So I think we need to get financial literacy into schools. Cryptocurrency should be one of them, but there are resources. Girls Who Code is one of them. Fred Brandon, you can find him on LinkedIn and on Twitter. He has some resources he's created. There are lots of people who have created camps for kids and during the Congressional Black Caucus, the annual leadership conference, I was on a panel that focuses on cash and cryptocurrencies. And there was a gentleman there who actually does a camp for financial literacy for kids. So I'm happy to share some of those resources. Next question, because I can go on and on.
Tamuno Balima, he asks, can you share resources to help understand NFTs?
Oh my goodness. Yes. So the good thing about NFTs is there's tons of education. But the one thing to recognize about NFTs is the Ethereum blockchain. So the Ethereum community is actually pretty robust. When you look at, there's an Ethereum Foundation, there's Consensus, which was created by one of the founders of Ethereum. So I would say first and foremost, look to those resources in terms of learning about NFTs, what is an NFT, how to create an NFT. But I also shared some resources earlier, OpenSea and Nifty Gateway. On those, whether you want to create an NFT or buy an NFT, they have education for how to do that as well. And again, I think it's important to start with those protocols, because even, like Jay-Z has created an NFT, but that doesn't help you if you want to learn how to do it for yourself. And quite frankly, no offense to Jay-Z, love him, I'm a Gen Xer, but you know what? Be a producer, not a consumer. You have his album, make your own NFT and sell it. You don't have to buy his NFT. But that said, I would first start with the Ethereum community to first learn about the community that created it, but also the marketplaces for NFTs, because that's where they will teach you how to actually create your NFT and also how to buy your NFT.
All right, the next question is the Black Wall Street good to utilize for investing?
So the question is the Black Wall Street app good to utilize for investment?
I guess.
Yes. The answer is yes. Tons of credible resources. Obviously, I encourage people to leverage, to utilize Black and brown products and crypto products, because again, we create this adoption, not so you can buy, so we can circulate more funds into our community. So yes, the Black Wall Street app, I have to Google it, Hill Harper, Niraj Roberts, because I don't have the URL on me, but definitely safe. Naja is, brilliant developer. It's a great app where you can actually create a digital wallet and buy cryptocurrency. But I said, GuapCoin is one of them, but also depending on where you are at, the first step is to get a digital wallet, which again, that's what the Black Wall Street app is. Then decide what types of cryptocurrencies you want to buy. And that's when, you can choose different kinds.
The next question is from Ryan Coopdeville Cooper. He wants to work with you on educating. We all know Ryan, right? He wants to work with you on educating. So we'll do an introductory email between the two. That's not a live question. And then our final question, how can a new person get involved into this new trend of global economic change so as to attain financial freedom?
Okay, so going back to Ryan, I will tell you, when I told you about the last 10 years, we've had people who have just been toiling in the vanguard, going to these meetups, educating people. Ryan Coopdeville is one of them. So please follow him on, social media. He is, a son of Morgan, but he's one of those folks who has been, I would say when I came into the space, he was one of the early adopters that I learned about, connected with. He was actually at the Black History Month event, but he, most of us who are in the space, in the last 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, we were doing this education stuff when it was not popular, when there was no money in it, right? When there was no price of Bitcoin is so high, right? So, so I want to say, Ryan, thank you for your leadership in this space and the work that you have done here at Morgan State, but also nationally, because it has had an impact. And yes, and let's connect on education, because the biggest challenge to crypto mainstream adoption today is education. Mainstream adoption will depend on education. And so if we don't focus more on financial literacy, the space is just a pipe dream. Now, the last question in terms of how can people get more involved in this global crypto revolution, I would say start with education. Do your research. Don't try to do everything. So for Black and Brown folk, I shared that I have a book where I talk about my experience, but I would tell you to buy Bitcoin in Black America. Isaiah Jackson, he actually is the author of Bitcoin in Black America, and he is about educating other people. He's a trip. He goes to strip clubs to teach people about Bitcoin. He's actually doing a tour for Bitcoin in Black America. The book is very simple and focused just about the space. It's a good introductory look to it, but it's also connected to what is the culture of crypto, right? So I would say get Isaiah Jackson's Bitcoin in Black America. He also has a podcast, The Gentleman of Crypto. Yes, ladies, you can actually subscribe as well. But again, he is one of those ride or die, let's get it. Let's focus on educating. Here's how you do it. Here's how you make money. Boom, 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 right? No frills. Now, there's sort of like a Bible, and early on, like it was a Bible that you needed for crypto, and it's called The Internet of Money. It's a book that talks about this journey we've been on in terms of digitizing money. Crypto is not a brilliant concept. We have been moving towards this forever. Credit cards was about digitizing money. FinTech was about digitizing money. Cryptocurrency just takes us there through cryptography. So The Internet of Money is a great book, worth the read, that will talk you through about money, how we've been dealing with it, and how we got to crypto. But for that question, I do think, again, it's important to do your research. And then don't try to think, if you don't care about cryptocurrencies, don't care about cryptocurrencies. Learn about blockchain technology and how it's solving a problem in your space. There's a woman called Dawn Dixon. She is a serial entrepreneur. Dawn Dixon is the CEO of Popcom, P-O-P-C-O-M. Dawn is a Black woman who, Popcom is a success story for the blockchain industry. Why? Dawn is not a blockchain developer. Dawn is she is innovating the vending machine space. When I was growing up, vending machines was just to buy candy. Well, Dawn is creating innovative vending machines where you could buy Louis Vuitton shoes, cannabis. So when you're doing federally regulated products like cannabis, you have to verify identity, right? So for Dawn, that was the pain point. How do you verify identity, and how do you do it securely? And she did her research, and it turns out blockchain was this technology that would do that for her. So Popcom is not a blockchain company, it's a blockchain success story, because here an entrepreneur had a problem, did her research, found out this will solve the problem, boom. So if you're in finance, great, but if you're a dancer, if you're a nurse, whatever, start with your space. How is it impacting your space? So if you start with what you know, it would make sense for how it's being innovative. Then go out into your space. I know we have to wrap up. As you can see, as I said, we're like Jehovah's Witnesses. We can sit here forever to try to convert you. But, I do think that it's really important in this. Well, actually, I think we had one last question before we go. Okay, perfect. So I think it is important as adoption, mainstream adoption in the US is being driven by, Black and Latinx people, especially young people. We need to figure out how to use that power to become producers, not consumers. And this club, right, this society, and at Morgan, but also, clubs everywhere are very critical because, for students out there, right, when for Morgan's Blockchain Society is going to be that hub where they actually get information, connect with other people who are interested, learn together, fail together, get discouraged together, and that's very important. So thank you for being here. Thank you for participating, and welcome to the crypto revolution.
Thank you, Cleve. Thanks for coming out. Everyone that is in person, you may enter the atrium to enjoy a catered meal. Everyone that is online, we thank you all for coming out. I will share your questions that didn't get answered with Cleve, and she can respond, and then I'll send out an email to each and every one of you. Take it over, Judy.
Okay, hi, everyone who's here in person. We promised we'd get a free t-shirt. So please, and